welcome to Reality Bytes Podcast. I'm your host, the Psych. Welcoming you to a great episode here tonight. We have a lot going on. I could tell you so much. It's been a while since I've been on and done a podcast. It's been a while since we've done anything, but I am back. We've had, I dealt with a lot of stuff going on, and I've gotten everything back up to par. I've been working on a lot. If you haven't seen the the Psych gaming channel, obviously we're broadcasting the Reality Bytes podcast channel from there. Either way, guys, I thank you for tuning in. I apologize that my mic was not working for quite a while into that podcast, but we got it fixed, and now we're back live. Oh, wow. Just to kick off the show, we've got a lot going on. I'm going to be doing a podcast at least once a week. A lot to do. I've got a lot of content going, and, I do appreciate everybody's support out there. You've been watching the videos, checking those out. The radio is more of what my personality is. I've been more of a radio guy. I went to school for radio, so this is more of up my alley, if you know what I mean. This is more of my style of broadcasting. So let's get the show right underway here. Tonight we've got a few topics we're going to talk about. We're going to jump right into the one. We're going to jump into celebrity deaths and why this is a ploy of the media. I may have kind of worded ploy in there a little wrong. I should have probably reworded that topic a little bit. But basically what I'm getting at here, guys, is that the media jumps on things like this. Like, oh, there's been a couple celebrity deaths, a couple suicides. Now there's an insurgence of celebrity suicide. Like never before was what I heard on the news. Like never before. That kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't really register in my brain. I seen that and I said, what the fuck? Then I thought back to another thing that the media blows out of the water every time it happens, and that's shark attacks. When one person gets bit by a shark, all of a sudden there's a mass insurgence of shark attacks. They're stretching and reaching, and they maybe find 4 or 5 throughout the season and broadcast those, but they act like there's hundreds of them. And the funny thing is that there's really not. But they keep you watching. They keep you tuned in because they push that content. They're capitalizing on that contented video. And if you think the media companies and the news don't make money off of headlines, you're insane. You're nuts. You seriously, you might just want to turn this broadcast off and go find something else to listen to, because quite frankly, the media makes money off the headlines. That's what sells their ad revenue. And I'm just being honest. That's what sells their ad revenue. So if that's the case, okay, and their ad revenue is what makes them and breaks them, then my question is, when they cover celebrity suicides, they do the same. They've done the same thing. They've done the exact same thing. I just don't think that's right. Seriously, what the fuck? You're treating celebrity suicides like it's shark attacks. This is never, and they're acting like it's never happened before. Celebrities killing themselves, that's unheard of. No, it's very well heard of. I can rest assured you that it's very well heard of. And we'll go back a little bit and we'll talk about this, because seriously, an insurgence of celebrity suicides. Man, this has been happening since the dawn of time. Okay? Celebrities and musicians suicides. Yeah, that's never happened. No. Never once. It's not like Jim Morrison and Janis Joplin and a whole handful of them in the 70s committed suicide or drug overdose themselves, because they weren't happy with life. It wasn't like in the 80s the same thing happened again. And in the 90s, and in the 80s, yeah, like guys like the lead singer of In Excess. You know, in the 90s, it was bad again, too. It was even worse than the 80s. In the 90s, you had guys, let's see, the bass player from Pennywise, Jason Matthew Thirsk, Bradley Noel, Shannon Hoon. You know? I can keep going. Especially from that 90s. Like, I could seriously keep naming off musician and celebrity suicides. You know, and it didn't happen in the 2000s. No. Lane Staley. Wayne Static. Lynn from Snot. Heath Ledger. Yeah, those didn't happen. No. And you know, that's my point. People aren't happy with life, and they commit suicide, and it's sad. It's really sad. Do I think that you should market off of that? You should make... No. Not really. I don't see the smarts in that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Treating people's deaths like Shark Week. I don't know about you, but that makes me think a little bit. Like, that's the mortality of what this world's come to. Seriously. That's the mortality of what this world's come to. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, guys. It kind of messes me up, you know. It is sad. Don't get me wrong, Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington, that's sad, man. That's some real sad news to hear. That was very sad to hear that Chester committed suicide. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to sit here and do an entire broadcast about that. I'm not going to sit here and talk about that for days. What I will do is comment on the fact that I don't think it's right that the way that the media addresses this and makes all this falsified story about how this is an insurgence that's never been seen before. I don't know about all that noise, because we've seen it before, but people buy it. Because it comes from the media. People listen. I see people sharing stuff on social media all the time, saying, "Oh, well, this celebrity died, or that celebrity died, or this happened, or that happened," and then you look at it, and in all entirely that honesty, it's not even the case. Like, it's seriously not even the case. It's just totally, like, I'm kind of at a loss of words for that. You know, like, they were already trouble enough as it was. Now, let alone every family has to currently that's going through that in this world has to watch stories about it every day on the modern media, shoved in their face. No, nonetheless. So, you know, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at with that. It's like, wow, you take a step back to think about it, and it's just like, geez. But that's what people pay for. That's what people want to hear. Apparently, that's what modern society is cast is deemable as an appropriate news story. There's so much other news in this world. There's so much other stuff going on in this world. So much other things that you could inform people about. But that's the way society's turned. And with that's the end of that topic. I mean, I could talk about that one for the entire course of this radio broadcast, to be 100% honest with you. I could sit here and run my mouth for the next 2.5 hours about the media and the way that things are portrayed in the modern media. I mean, but then again, I could split that up into 20 different topics and use it in every single one of them. That's what people pay for. That's what people. The media, it's portrayed that way, and that's, if you've looked at the way that common culture has evolved, that's just the direction that it's involved in. People's attention spans don't last for nothing anymore. Nothing. You can't. It's hard to keep somebody entertained for 30 minutes anymore. It really is. It's hard to keep someone locked in for even 30 seconds. 30 minutes is you should get a trophy. I mean, I swear to God. You know, or it's just mind-numbing to me. Love it or hate it, it's my opinion, and I'm sure as hell going to say what I've got to say about it. So, once again, guys, I thank you for listening in to Reality Bytes Radio. It's been an interesting night, need to say the least. I always have some kind of issue when the broadcast launches for some reason, and I don't know, it just happens, and I just do my best to bounce along with it, and yeah, that's just the way that it goes. So we're going to get into another topic here very shortly, and this topic's going to be exactly the second one. I don't want to bore you with the second one first, that was actually reversed ordered, because it's about corporate America, larger scale companies, and their ability to kind of sway people. So we're going to get into that topic very shortly. I am going to take a short break so I can recollect my brain after having my mic outage and everything else happen on the live podcast. So at this point in time, let's get into some straight, like, kind of like metal. I don't know. It's we're gonna listen to a little bit of One Day Waiting, guys. Here on Reality Bytes Radio. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
It's okay.
Alright, we are back here live. Reality Bytes Radio here on Pun the Psych Gaming. I am Pun the Psych. Welcome you guys to the podcast, radio broadcast, whatever you want to call it. We've got a lot going on tonight. I have been just stuff coming out of my ears. So at this point, I'm going to talk a little bit before I get into the topic about the whole what's going on with Pun the Psych, Reality Bytes Radio, and Pun the Psych Gaming. Nothing's really changing, guys, just to let you know. Just a little transition, doing the radio because it's what I love to do. I'm going to have some guests getting scheduled as the weeks go on here to try and promote and push certain things for people, and I think that that's important. There's a few people I'd like to try and get on here to interview, talk to about a few of the topics that I'd like to talk about later on in the radio broadcast in the future. And so much more. I'm going to be working on a wrestling show that's going to come out once a week, which will cover all combat sports, wrestling, and then I'll cover combat sports like UFC and boxing. So we're definitely going to be talking a little bit about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. But we're not going to get into that tonight. But we will definitely do a show when it comes to the sports broadcast. Basically, part of that. Half of the content tonight in this is wrestling related. That'll be the second half of this radio broadcast, and that's what's kind of prompted me to actually do a wrestling-based show. I'm only going to be talking about the politics of wrestling tonight. I'm not even going to get into current events. So that's for another night, and I've got a little bit of catching up to do there as far as the main, like WWE and stuff. I'm probably about 4 days behind, which means I did not get a chance to check out Battleground yet. I plan on doing that tomorrow, and then I'm going to catch up on Raw and SmackDown. Just because that's kind of the way that things are running for me right now. I've been a little behind. So, basically that's kind of like the future of this channel. The name will change a little bit from Pun the Psych Gaming just to Pun the Psych Entertainment, or vice versa. I'm still going to do Friday the 13th streams, guys. The quality's gotten better on those. I'm going to do the retro gaming streams, but the radio is definitely here to stay. So that's pretty much all you need to know. If you've never listened to one of my podcasts, that's just kind of how I cover things. It's my opinion, and I just kind of bring it out there. On to my next topic. And like I said, this one kind of hits a little personal to me, and I honestly may get a little pissed off when I do talk about this. So, just to let you know. Okay, so we are going to get into the larger scale companies and their ability to manipulate standards to employees, as well as, a few other things on that. Now, if you want my honest opinion, okay, I'm going to give you my perspective on this first before I give the generalization, which means I'm going to give you my opinion before I give the general thought on this topic, because quite frankly, I think everybody knows the general thought on this topic. And we'll cover that first. The general overall thought about this topic is definitely stands true with the fact of, they do manipulate standards. They do go above and beyond to cover these things up, and they're not public because, quite frankly, enough people don't have what it takes to stand up to corporations like this. And quite frankly, when you do stand up to corporations like this, I'll agree, you're probably going to fall a little bit. It's going to hurt, but you know what? You can be a better person for it. I quite frankly, people say, oh, if you just would have kept your mouth shut, you'd still have that job. Well, yeah, I would. But see, if they're going to manipulate their standards like that as a company, do I want to eventually work myself into a position where I'm doing that to other people? No. I might not be this or I may not be that, but one thing I definitely have is a bit of integrity, because I'm not going to allow somebody to walk all over me like that. I would have to make a decent amount of money for that to happen. Alkaline, dude, it doesn't matter if you missed the start of this. I somehow did the first whole segment of this podcast and my mic was off. So just like previous old school, he's an old school listener to my radio broadcast, dude. Just like any first broadcast on any medium I ever do, there's some kind of technical problem, and that was the technical problem. So, that's kind of what happened. So, no, dude, it's okay if you missed the start of it. You can catch the replay anytime on YouTube as well. I will edit this video after it comes out tonight and put it back up with the beginning of this the segment of dark silence will be edited out of the video. For sure, for sure. So, I've had the opportunity to work for a couple of two of, I would say, the top 5 biggest companies in the United States. Okay, actually at one time, actually 3, because at the time when Electrolux they were one of the biggest conglomerates. So I've had the honor to work for 2 real big amusement entertainment companies. One of them, and I've looked at the legalities of this, and I really have to tiptoe a little bit. I can be I'm serious. I have to be very tiptoeish. I cannot directly say these companies' names because then I can be held in liabilities. I can, however, and learning this from college was a great thing for me. I can, though, however, describe the mascots of the companies or the company's logo and not actually reference any trademarks to put myself in liability. So what I'm going to do at this point is we're going to play what I like to call the guessing game. All right, guys, you can guess the 2 companies I worked for. Number 1 hint of the 2 big conglomerate companies in the United States I worked for is they have more than one attraction on both of the far southern states in the United States. Hint, Florida and California. They are both family-oriented parks. One of them is represented by somebody that goes, "Ha ha, welcome to my park, ha ha." And he's a bitch mouse. If you can't figure out what company I'm telling you right now, all I can say, and as far as I can say it, is who's the leader of the club. It's named for you and me. That's as far as I can go. Okay, and the other company that I worked for is represented by a big globe that spins around with the name of the company on the front of it. They are known for hosting a certain second-tier wrestling company that recently changed its name from TNA to their current status of GFW. And that one is located in Florida and California as well. And let me tell you what I've learned. Yeah, you got it, Elk. And the other one is pretty easy. The other one owns several entities. Used to have a studio for Nickelodeon's there, and all sorts of other stuff. Needless to say, I've had the privilege to work for both of these companies, and I can tell you the things they do for people are great. The things they do for their guests are great. Okay. They do try to go as far as they can, but we are not talking about the guests. We are talking about the employees. Oh, wait. We can't say employees. Why? Because the people that work at these places are not represented as employees for the company. They are cast members. There's your first red flag. Just saying. So, within these companies, they do give benefits. They pay like shit. $10 American an hour is an average pay for either one of those places, unless you're working in a specialty field. And let me tell you, like, if you have something going on in your life, and I've seen it happen to hundreds of people at both entities, if you're going through a hard time, like, they don't give a shit. You'll get pointed out for missing time for bereavements, to the point where you have to have your management team have to take a class to be taught how to deal with bereavements. There's people that I've seen that are on actual FMLA, which is Family Medical Leave Act, and they're getting basically fired or pushed out of the company because they can't work a full-time schedule, when these acts and these things have been put in place to protect the people. And for people that are like, okay, so most people in America understand the way that the employment, there's certain acts that have been put into legislation that allow fair treatment in a workplace. But in a big company like that, there's so many smokes and mirrors to the public eye that you don't really actually see the way that these people are actually treated. And I'm here to tell you, when a lot of people don't have the balls to tell you this, I will be one to tell you that it's not going to keep private forever. The fact and the way that these employees are treated within these companies is not going to stay quiet forever, because honestly, it's utter fucking bullshit. The way that these people conduct themselves to the employees of these companies, who are the fucking foundation of this company running successfully. Now, obviously, they make their money from the guests, but without these employees running these things for these guests, you would have no fucking park. There would be no entertainment, no one to operate it, no security, no one to find your kid, no one to give your fat ass a goddamn fucking churro when you want a fucking churro. No, those wouldn't be available for you. Why? Because the employees are the ones that make that happen. While everybody else sits around on their ass, patting each other on the back saying what a good job they did, when it really comes down to no recognition gets actually given to the actual cast members of the company. Why is that? Well, it's simply because if they don't give recognition to they try with their little certificates, but let me be honest with you, like, it don't matter what kind of an employee you are. You can go to work every day at one of those companies, okay? You can get up and go to work every single fucking day. And let me tell you what, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're not friends with your management team, it doesn't matter. You can go through things in life and it doesn't matter. You will get pointed, you will get eliminated if you try to stand up against something because you think it's wrong, and you go to HR and you actually bring this to the point of these companies. What ends up happening is the upper management, like HR and people like that, will come and correct the problem. But what they don't realize is after they correct the problem, the backlash comes back to whom? Is it come back to the management? No. Shit rolls downhill, guys. So where does that roll? It rolls on the cast members. I cannot tell you more than like a handful of people that I know between both places that I honestly will tell you that they really love their jobs. And the ones that really love their jobs are ones that are working jobs that are decent, with a decent management team, the few and the few and far between there. They're like needles in haystacks out there. It's like fucking impossible. It's like finding where's fucking Waldo in Disney. There's 860,000 fucking people in there. But God forbid, you can't make every single one of them people happy. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't look at the ins and outs of that. Like, so it runs downhill. If you do something and you stand up for yourself and your rights, I guarantee you'll no longer be with that place within a month. 3 max. And that's the God's honest truth. I've seen so many people come in on college programs and be brought in to learn how to do things, learn the dark side. I'm serious, learn the dark side. You can catch that reference too if you know what company bought Star Wars. The dark side bought Star Wars. That's who bought Star Wars. If I had to pick between the two companies, which one's the worst one? The one that's got the bitch mouse representing them is by far the worst of the two companies. You know, I honestly, after I parted ways with the second company, you know, I thought, you know, I would still recommend people going to that. No, fuck that. I wouldn't even spend your money in that park. Why? Because it gives to the corporate greed and allows them to continuously treat these people like garbage. And they continuously fight for better wages and better working conditions. But the public eye, it's provided and it's there. But if you look internally, it's not. And that's sad because nobody's going to go within the internal specs of that company and make sure that every single thing is enacted the way that it's supposed to be. There's 70,000 people in one park of 5. Do the math. There's close to what, 500,000 people representing and working for one of those entities in one of those states. That is, my God. And I mean, it's not like the less wages paid out are saving you all out there as guests and ticket sales, because those are through the damn roof. I'm done supporting companies like that. I'll go to Cedar Point first. I'm serious. And honestly, they may treat their employees like garbage too. I don't know. But at least on their sanity's sake for their employees, Cedar Point is not open year-round. It can't be. It's in Ohio. In Sandusky, Ohio, there's seasons. That thing's closed down by like Halloween. And a Halloween, I think they shut down. They do like a Halloween thing and then they're done. And then they open back up at the like April or May, like Memorial Day, I believe. So, at least for their sanity, they get like the winter off, man. They can go do a different job that's not so Nazi-ish. Oh, did I say that out loud? Aww. I don't give a shit. To be honest with you, like, shame on those people. Shame on those people that work for... If you work as a management team or a manager in one of those companies that I'm naming, and you're listening to this podcast, go fuck yourself. Shame on you. Because you had the opportunity, just like everybody else, to do things in a civil and respectful way to people and still get your point across and still manage your workforce. It's like the quest for it's like the Lord of the Rings, dude. Everybody wants the ring for the power. Well, when you get management, you got the ring. You're precious. I got my precious. My precious. Fuck that. That's not what defines me as a person. And I sure as hell ain't going to suck up my pride every day as I walk into a company like that because of it. And I mean, if you're making 6 figures, 5 figures, like high-end 5 figures, you're making like 90 grand a year, you could let some stuff slide. I'd let a little bit slide for 90 grand. Yeah, I'd totally let that slide. Now, would I let it slide for... if I was making close to $1 million a year, would I let that slide and suck up my pride a little bit and go in there and yeah, I would. For that kind of income? Hell no. Hell no. I mean, people don't think pun changed. I didn't fall off a damn cliff. I'm still around. I just don't talk about stupid fantasy bullshit no more. That's the only difference between me and from then and now. That is literally the only difference. I have not changed one bit. I just actually left the shitty thing I was paying money for to broadcast on radio and switched to a way clearer, way louder, way more efficiently sounding thing. Speaking of Fantasyland, I wonder how Fantasyland's going. I used to do Fantasyland radio for a game. And man, I'll tell you what, I don't miss that crap. I don't miss that drama. I'm happy that I do what I do now. And honestly, I'm happy that things turned out the way they did. Because, like, those two companies remind me a lot of that place. Totally reminds me a lot of Wrestler Unstoppable. All drama, all the time. Nothing but depressing ass shit. Seriously. So, yeah, I haven't changed, man. Elk, I haven't changed, bro. I'm the same person I've always been. And I'm not going to hide that for anybody. I learned that a long time ago, that if you don't stick up and stand to your guns and believe in what you believe in, then you ain't got a leg to stand on in the first place. You gotta have balls, man. I've got lots of balls. Like, just the way it is. It's the way it's always fucking been with me. So that ain't gonna change, guys. So I think I kind of covered my whole topic in that aspect. Yeah, I think we totally covered that one. I thank you guys for listening in tonight. Reality Bytes Radio is here live on Pun the Psych Gaming. Pun the Psych Gaming is also my gaming page. If you like to watch games, retro, Friday the 13th, Paladins, War Thunder, any other game you want me to play a certain game, send me a message. I will play whatever game you want me to play within reason. Okay, within reason. I'm not playing Barbie or My Little Pony. Well, I might play My Little Pony if I'm high enough, because it's all rainbowy and like shiny. Yeah. Yep. And honestly, like Alkaline is listening. He's typing in the chat. Dude, to be honest with you, I haven't been on there in a long time. It's been a year and a half, and I don't miss it. Like, it was all drama. It was all bullshit. It was all, nonstop. And so, I'm happy that I got back to reality. Even though reality bites, I'm glad I got back to it. No pun intended. Yeah. So, we're going to get into some wrestling talk here, as it's the second topic of the podcast tonight, guys. If you like the content of the radio broadcast, hit the like button and subscribe. Go to the Facebook page, Reality Bytes Radio. Go ahead, check us out everywhere we're at. I'll have a website up soon enough. Just got a lot going on. I've got a lot of video uploads I'm about to start. I've got some more streaming. Some more Friday the 13th streams are coming very soon. I streamed Tech Mobile tonight. We're going to wrap up that series. I'm doing some Legends of Zelda work once a week. We're going to go through a ton of Zelda games. We're going to go through a ton of other retro games and a bunch of new stuff as well. Just stay tuned to the channel for that. That was my commercial ad. Thank you, shameless plug. Silence applause. Pat your own back. All right. So now we're going to get into the wrestling. And this is something that's going to take a while. I may actually take a musical intermission in between this because there's so much content to honestly cover. We're going to talk about tonight, and then we're going to switch into the wrestling mode here. We're into wrestling mode now. That's how quickly I can turn into wrestling mode. We're going to talk about the politics of wrestling, guys. I'm not just talking about now. And if you even understand what the politics of wrestling are. Real quick summary. Yeah, honestly, Alec, the only thing that was good from coming from Wrestling Unstoppable was meeting cool people like you and Joe and the other people that I met there that I actually still talk to. Nick, those guys. And one of these days I'm going to have you guys all I want you guys to all hop on like Discord or Skype or whatever, and we'll do one of these Reality Bytes podcasts with all you guys together, because that was some of my funnest times having you guys around. Honestly. So I wouldn't mind having a round table, all you guys around. We could talk about some wrestling or video games or music or just shoot the shit. And it would probably be pretty entertaining. Anytime you get Kuda or Joe in a conference call, it's very entertaining. You'll hear shit. This shit comes from left field that you never even expected to hear from this dude or even come out of his mouth. He does it a lot for shock value, but damn, it's entertaining sometimes to have him around. Let me tell you what. So like I said, people, if you want to get in on Reality Bytes Podcast or Reality Bytes Radio, you just have to join the Discord. Let me know you want on. I'll let you on. You can also hit me up on Facebook. You can call me on Facebook Messenger if you're friends of me or friends of the channel. We'll put you on that way. I can put you on any way and medium. If you want to call a phone number, I can provide a phone number for you to call. I'm just not going to provide that out for the whole world on YouTube live stream, because quite frankly, I think that number would never stop ringing ever. So if you want to get in on the call, I could give you a phone number on an exception, something like that. We could get you on the podcast in many different ways. I'm not a huge Skype fan anymore. I kind of push Discord and other chat services. So, that's just me. I run everything, the studio, everything off the basis of my computer now. I'm not using a broadcasting system like I was using for Blog Talk, where everything is kind of handed to you. I do everything manually, and it's been a lot of work configuring all of this stuff and getting it set up to do radio production, broadcasting, and video game streaming, and it's been a lot of work to set this stuff up. But I got it done, And like I said, there's videos coming out all the time. I'm going to push content. I'm going to keep talking out there like there's a million people watching, even if I got nobody. Because that's what I do. I did that before, and look where I got last. In my previous podcasting, I built audiences, and I was good at it. That's what I do. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. It's just what I want to do. I've been wanting to get onto the YouTube formatting for a long time, and I never really had enough time to figure it out. And finally, I had a little bit of downtime there for a while, and I started looking into the ins and outs of it. And I'm like, this is actually easier than what I'm doing to broadcast on like Ustream or to put it direct embedded on a website. So, getting this all figured out and configured has been interesting. But I'm getting there in strides, man. Getting there in strides. Anyways, like I promised, wrestling politics is coming up. I decided to take a breather before we get into the politics. I'm going to play another quick song. All the songs I play on here are definitely royalty free. But I found some really decent, okay music. Like, it's not all just dubstep. A lot of people, that's all I hear is dubstep, 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 dubstep. Like, I'm tired of hearing all this fucking dubstep. So, we changed it up a little bit. I've been kind of happy with it. For sure. So, we're going to listen to this song real quick, and we will come back. It's not too long, like 3.5 minutes. Take a quick break, and we'll be back talking about wrestling politics here on Reality Bytes Radio. I am Pun the Psych, thanking you guys for listening in. We'll be right back after this quick break, once the song actually decides to play. There it goes. All right, I'll be back in a moment, guys. Thank you.
Finding peace in this prison never seemed so long before. What am I searching for? Just a touch of the feeling rush of two hearts beating. Why am I left dancing in the rain again, singing my sorrows for when I can't seem to get just some place where I belong? And don't take this from me, I've been fading away, memories are turning to gray, but every step that I take, the closer I get to finding there's more to me than what these eyes have seen. It's within my reach, and I'll take it all. I am withered and broken and weary, but I'm not throwing it all away for something that only fades. Been through the battle, been through the war, but I still can't find what I'm searching for. Just some place where I belong. And don't take this from me, I've been fading away, memories are turning to gray, but every step that I take, the closer I get to finding there's more to me than what these eyes have seen. It's within my reach, and I'll take it all. Just some place where I belong. I've been fading away, memories are turning to gray, but every step that I take, the closer I get to finding there's more to me than what these eyes have seen. It's within my reach,
All right, we are back here on Reality Bytes Radio. I'm your host, Pun the Psych. Welcome you guys back. I needed to just take a few minutes to breathe there for a second and catch my wind, because I never shut up on this radio broadcast. Why? Because I'm the only one that does this radio broadcast. I don't have a co-host. I fly from the seat of my pants and we rock it. I mean, I think it's fairly entertaining radio production. I do my best to give you the content that I can, and we have always tried to strive for the absolute bare rock medium. We're never looking for the best, and we're never looking for rock bottom. Yeah, dude, your channel does need a dose of rock. It totally does. So, yeah, I'll get with you after the podcast or sometime tomorrow, and I'll send you some links to a couple of channels that have free music, and you just gotta convert the files into MP3 from YouTube videos. It's pretty easy. So we'll get you set up, bro. No problem. No problem there. All right. So we're gonna get into, like I said, the second half of this podcast. It might be more of like the last third, but either way, we'll get into this wrestling politics. Now, I'm not just talking about current status. We're gonna get to the current status and how things have even changed within the last 5 years. A lot of people think it just changed. You can't seem to join the Discord. Hold on. Okay. I'll figure that out. It might help if I actually have my Discord on. I don't know. I'll take a look at that, Elk. But like wrestling politics, if you don't know what the politics are of wrestling, politics of wrestling is kind of what you use to configure who wins and loses, storyline angles, so on and so forth, and how those are determined. And you know, it's the process has changed elaborately over the years. And honestly, to give you the full insight on the politics of wrestling, I kind of got to take you back a ways, because you know, I mean, obviously there wasn't really there was even politics back in the day when wrestling was real still, back in the shoot fighter days. You know, like back then even there was still politics. There was still guys that would use money to back then, because like, you know, bribery and mobsters and all that, they would they would find ways to stronghold who they would want to be in there, being the top earners, to earn the money, actually, and they're earning the money. So you know, there was politics even back then. And then, you know, if you know much about the history of wrestling eventually fertilized into the entertainment piece that most people know and love today. It did this gradually over time, starting from the 30s into the, you know, kind of like when P.T. Barnum and Bailey had picked up the whole idealism of making wrestling back, but not having it to be like the old school days of shoe fighting. Because the old school days of shoe fighting in wrestling, you know, they were more of I'm working on that. You know, they were more of hour long, like, you know, guys would do the old school shoot fighting, and they'd be in these matches for, I mean, I'm talking, that should be the Discord link right there. I just put it in the chat. I don't know, it should have been the same. DW, I don't know, I just copied it. Try that one. Let me know if that works, Elk. That link's supposed to never expire. The other one might have expired, so I may have to change that on my page, which I'll do that right now. But back into the politics of wrestling. So, you know, back even when Barnum and Bailey did it, there was still politics, because, you know, the side, it was a sideshow, which was a draw for money. I updated that on my page too. It was a draw for money. So, a lot of these companies, they when like the circus acts, they had who they picked their champions, they picked their storylines, they did what they wanted to do to push out their product. They created bookers, and that's where it really started. The original politics and the original setup in wrestling was originally, at least the way I'd like to understand it to be, was that all decisions were made by the owner of the carnival process. Eventually, when wrestling broke up from the carnival territories, the link was expired. I had to reset it. The carnival territories were around. Well, when those split up, wrestling became territorial, and I'm trying not to get too deep into the whole esque of wrestling. Like I'm not trying to get too deep into that. Yeah, I got you on there now. But basically, in a nutshell, like at a certain point in wrestling, they finally decided. They finally had decided to go ahead and make things the way that they were. In territories, the bookers kind of ran things, and this ran that way until about the 60s, where it was still just like a dictatorship. You just kind of did the role that you were brought in to do. There wasn't really a lot of room for hagglement, because they could just go get some other big dude to fill your shoes, and that was just the way that it worked. So eventually, when it split the territories, things got a little different. Things definitely got a little different in the wrestling industry. That's when it got to be more of the guys who put in the most work, the hardest working guys in the gyms, the guys that were training every day, the guys that were in there nonstop, were willing to put people over, to put the product over. Those were the guys in the 70s who would get the pushes and the title runs. Those were the guys who would show for their work, and this proved true in the majority of the territories out there for wrestling. That politics stayed tried and true until, I want to say, the late 80s, when the Hulk Hogan era kicked in, and then it became politics started shifting in the way of more of the most popular guy and the guy who could get the biggest draw then became the bargaining chip. And that's what we've seen in the Monday Night War time. The politics were real power driven in the fact that I could get this big name guy and I could get this big name guy to do whatever the hell I want him to do. That was really and that politics thing that stayed tried and true until I want to say the late 90s, early 2000s, and then it became all about sales. Who could sell the most t-shirts, who could sell the most DVDs, who could sell the most posters, who could be the main event and pull the most ticket sales. That became the new draw for politics. It wasn't about characters, it wasn't about storylines anymore. Hell, you've learned with Roman Reigns that it's not about storyline, it's not about what the people would want to see. No, it's about whatever the hell they can do to make money, and it's nothing more anymore. That's what it's about. Politics have also gotten estranged in between the late 90s and now over the simple fact of the 90s really started the bargaining and haggling of politics of wrestling. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, I will explain. See, the whole politicking of wrestling, with being able to haggle your way, the guys were refusing to put people over. Like, guys were refusing to even attempt to put people over anymore. Like, they weren't even making the effort. So, like, the politics changed drastically over the years. It's gotten even more. And now, like, even before the 5 years ago when things really started to make another change, Even before that, that's when it was about sales in draws, and that was all it was about. So if you could sell T-shirts and you were a shitty wrestler, you're probably getting a world title. And that stays true today. If like right now, you see a current wrestler on SmackDown running with the world title because they're getting a huge draw from him in India. He's not, I mean, yeah, he's done a lot of work, dude. He's done a lot of work. But let's face it, he's not that good of a wrestler. He's done a lot of body work or steroids or whatever the hell he's done. But 9 months ago, this guy couldn't win a match on Raw. Now he's the world champion. That's what politics has done in wrestling. It's no longer about who works hard, who goes in the gym and busts their ass off every day to put on a good show for the fans. It's about who sells the most T-shirts, who pushes the product, and now the newest trend and change in wrestling politics, and this is the one that fucks me up the most, being a guy who's been out in the field and wrestled and been in the politic field. Social media is like everything now. Everything. Social media is now the main drive for the politics. If you can get 1 million tweets, you're in. It's all about social media. Sales are still there in the politics of wrestling. Social media is probably more influential than that, because they know they know for a fact that studies have proven if social media is trending, sales will trend too. If you're popular with the social media, you're popular with everything else. Let's be honest here. If you've got a huge Twitter or a Facebook following and you're a wrestler, chances are you're probably doing pretty well wherever you're at. If you're like that one kid in South Park who just didn't really have a social media following, and then like Kyle felt bad for him and became his friend, Kip Jordy, yeah, you're probably a jobber. Because you ain't selling shit, you ain't pushing shit, you ain't doing shit. Guys in the olden days had to learn how to get technologically advanced just to be able to push themselves in wrestling. Damn. I guess you need to know computer skills now to be a wrestler. That everybody should have computer skills, don't get me wrong, but you know, some of these guys have been around since before computers were ever existed and have been wrestling in the field, you know, done that shit since Steve Jobs was a look in someone's eye. I'm just saying. You know, and now it's all driven on social fucking media. Like, I don't participate in that. I don't comment to wrestlers or things on social media with wrestling. Yeah, and you're right. I have swayed more than just the wrestling business. You can look at this on anywhere. It's true. More people are swayed by social media than anything else. It's affected the politics of everything. Look at what the president of the United States is doing with social media. Christ. You know, I don't understand when what happened to earn your keep. What happened to the guys that bust their balls? Some of them get rewarded, but a lot of them just get pushed around. For example, look at Rotunda's kids, man. Look at Mike Rotunda's kids. Look at Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. There is a perfect example of politics. Bo Dallas was a little more quiet, soft-spoken. He's a better wrestler than Bray Wyatt. He works harder in the gym than Bray Wyatt does. Tell me he don't. Bo Dallas has got a body. Bray Wyatt's chubby. But because Bray Wyatt has a character that appeals to social media, he gets over. He gets titles. Meanwhile, the talent, the more talented one, is running around being Mrs. Bitch. Doesn't make a lick of sense. I've heard Bray Wyatt admit on podcasts that his brother's a better wrestler than him. He's more physically active. He's all about a better wrestler than him. But do you see Bo Dallas get a single gimmick that's actually going to ever get over? Bo leave? What the fuck was that? I would have at least, if you were going to do something with the name Bo, you should have went right along the lines of Bo Jackson. When Bo Jackson did like the Bo knows baseball and Bo knows this and Bo knows that. He should have did Bo knows or Bo thinks, like, and copied the idea. I mean, you know, like it's a perfect example of putting two people side by side and looking at where politics worked and where politics kind of didn't work. You can look at the same thing of how back in the 90s when things started to sway to the different set of politics there, where guys like Marty Jannetty got pushed under the rug while guys like Shawn Michaels won world titles. It's just the way that the politics have swayed things. Had it stayed the way that it was, Shawn Michaels wouldn't have won world titles. It would have been Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty worked harder in the gym than Shawn was. He was a better wrestler. He was a better wrestler than Shawn was, but he just wasn't as well liked because he didn't push himself. Like, he didn't get backed by the mule, by the man, McMahon, that is. You know, and that's what happened to him. Dude still wrestles independently, but it's fucking sad to see it. You know, yeah. Like, if you look at Husky Harris, it was a character that nobody liked. He was given the opportunity and given an opportunity to put some creativity into his own gimmick. They haven't given that right to Bo Dallas yet, and Bo Dallas is a better wrestler than Husky Harris / Bray Wyatt. You know, I don't understand why, like, they don't follow on that success with the brother and put him in with Bray anyway. They're on the same show. I think that Bo wants to kind of stand on his own 2 feet, but, you know, you've got to give him a leg to stand on. If you don't give a guy in the business a leg to stand on, I mean, you know, you either got to give a guy an opportunity to take a chance on a character and take some risks, or give him a character that gives him the opportunity to make a few risks for himself, to walk that line. He's never been given the opportunity to walk that line because if you look at the politics of wrestling, he doesn't have a huge social following. They put him with The Miz because The Miz has a huge social following. It was a ploy to boost his social following ratings. It wasn't to boost his abilities. Because if you put Miz and Bo Dallas side to side, I'd swear to God, Bo Dallas outranks him by 2 points out of 10. That's my point. But yet he's the bitch for the Miz. Like that's how politics works. The guys who are naturally skilled don't always get the pushes. Not anymore. And that's sad to me as someone, a true wrestling fan who's loved the business for years and had the opportunity to participate in the business and learn how these politics worked and watch them change and evolve over time. And to be honest with you, why am I retired from wrestling at 34 years old? For that is one of the big reasons why. One of the big reasons why is I don't want to be that guy. I always worked my ass off and it paid off. I believe that hard work deserves reward. When you change that dynamic, it kind of changed everything I was taught. Everything I believed in the business that I loved. I still love the business. I just don't really have much to do in the workings of it until I have the opportunity to change my creative output in it. And the way I do that is by doing something on my own and getting a ring of my own and doing my own business. That would be the way to change the politics there, because I would then manipulate and control how it was done. Other than that, that's the only way. You have to own the company to change the way the politics are ran. And then you don't even have full control because society's really got the reins on it. Society's got the reins on how things are controlled and how things are popularized and how things are made the way they are. Wrestling's only evolved with the way society's changed. Just like music. And I'll admit, the way that music's changed with society's been really shitty. Name 5 good bands that are current in mainstream. Oh, wait, you can't. Because there is none. Maybe someday bands like Tool and System of a Down will finally release a new record. It's coming, the Insurgents, the 80s streak is over. 90s metal and rock and grunge will come back. Punk rock Insurgents, yes, I can't wait for it. I honestly can't wait for it because it's been depressing. I'm tired of wrestlers dressing in this bright fucking neon bullshit, flashy ass shit. I'm ready to go back to the 90s where things were more like fucking attitude-ish, and like they didn't wear such bright colors. They just wore fucking whatever the fuck they worked for them. You've seen a lot more people wearing non-flashy items. It changes the tone of wrestling. Right now, I feel like we're in a Hogan era. I do. I feel like we're in that you know, and if you look at the history of wrestling and how things have went in the Hogan era, there was a bunch of guys wrestling part-time, like the Ultimate Warrior and Hogan and Savage, and all these fucking big guys were only around part-time. They only wrestled so often. Well, fuck, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, and I mean, come on, it's the same. John Cena, it's all the same. Eventually, the promoters are going to make that change where they go back to where they're like, fuck you, you want to be part-time? We'll bring you in at WrestleMania or at the Royal Rumble. Other than that, go fuck yourself, and we're going to stick to the guys who are here and put in the time. They need to step back to a little bit of the old school politicking and see if it don't change their viewer intake. People wrestling fans right now with the WWE are, I mean, they're bringing in new faces, and I think it's good. I think bringing in people like Shinsuke and AJ Styles and Mike Bennett, Adam Cole, if he ever does show up, is a good improvement to the company. Bobby Roode, like, these guys were good improvements to the company, but fucking do something with them. Get them out of NXT. You don't need it, like Asuka. These people don't need to be in NXT for 2 fucking years. Not when you pushed all these other guys that sure as hell weren't ready, and they proved it. They proved it with what they did, or you have shitty writers. Whatever the case may be. Yeah, the Attitude Era was a lot of people's favorite era. Not because wrestling started swearing, but they allowed people to have a little bit of blood. They allowed storylines to seem a little more like they would in life than opposed to this over the fucking top giant power like what they've done to Bayley. They've turned her into an 80s pop fucking icon, little fucking everybody's neighborhood fucking sweetheart. They need to give that bitch a mean streak. They need to let her flip out and act a little crazy. Go AJ Lee on some motherfuckers. I think that people are tired of it. That just like in the 80s, man, everybody got tired of the way that wrestling ran. And by 1995, the WWE was so meek. I mean, it was so what's the word? Rated age 7. It needs that oomph to carry it. It needs that for people to want it. Like, you've got to keep people hooked. They don't even build for pay-per-views anymore. Like, isn't that like the sad? Like, what happened to actually doing a legitimate storyline that builds to something? Because I don't know what the fuck they're trying to do. I don't know what they're trying. It's so confusing to try and follow the WWE anymore. I pretty much go there to watch just matches and not care much about the details because they're always fucked up. They always change them and it always flip-flops. Yeah, Bobby Roode needs to get out of NXT and be given a real fucking shot. They need to take guys like Roderick Strong and actually put them in a. If you have to create a third entity to get these guys out into the public mainstream and still keep NXT, then do it. Do a third-rate show like ECW. At least ECW was aired. It got people into the people that would be pushed. NXT's okay, but NXT only reaches the medium of the WWE Network. And we know what their ratings are. Not good. Not good at all. All it would take is one wrestling business right now to actually have their shit together. With a roster, they could give the WWE a run for their money. But as long as that corporate conglomerate is out there just driving shit, they're going to do whatever they want. I just don't get why you sign talent that's so fucking talented and do nothing with them. Like, seriously, when guys like Cody Rhodes leave the company because you won't stop running him as Stardust, when guys are dropping out of this company like flies, when Austin Aries, like, I could not, like, that's another one. He had to have lost the game of politics. Austin Aries had to have lost the game of politics, because that dude, like, he's such a great wrestler. He's so entertaining. And yeah, they do a pay-per-view every 2 weeks, and so, I mean, I get where you're saying there's just no time to build a storyline, but, you know, this is two separate brands, so they really have a month apart from each pay-per-view they do. So you're looking at, like, the SmackDown just did Battleground, so they're not gonna have another pay-per-view for like a month, right? So they're trying to do these real fast storylines because people don't want, you know, with the pay-per-views, they want to build within 2 weeks. You're right. They want to build within the 2 week period where it's fresh. And give the attention to this one, then the attention to that one, when they should really be focusing on straight lining both companies and storylining and building to things like SummerSlam and building to things like the Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble and Wrestle fucking Mania. You know, these are things they should be working on running to. That's what lacks in wrestling anymore. They don't build to anything anymore. The most anticipation and build this year in wrestling I've seen was the Hardys coming to WrestleMania, which I was there live at WrestleMania. It was a great time. I had a blast. A lot of people said it was one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. I'll give you my honest opinion about WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania was good. I just really honestly think that it was far too long, and by the time they got to the end, everybody was too gassed. It sat out in the sun all day. It was rough. If they were going to run that many matches and run for that many hours, why would they not just, like, at this point, split WrestleMania into 2 days? Or do like they used to, where WrestleMania was actually broadcast in 2 different locations. They did I think it was WrestleMania 5 or 6 or 7. One of those WrestleManias were done. And it was broadcast in 2 locations. I believe it was like Atlantic City and then like California somewhere. And they did the Atlantic City one first, and then as the sun started setting into the West Coast, they finished the show with the farther one. I think that if they did something in an arena on the East Coast in the evening when WrestleMania starts, did the pre-show there and like the first 2 hours of WrestleMania there, it would be cool. And then end that production. The fans can all stay in the venue because they paid, watch the rest of the show off the video screens. They cut the feed, go to a different location, and then those fans are just getting there, getting hyped for this show, and they finish it off with the second half. You've got 2 brands. You know, you got 2 brands. So why not have all of one shows, the second tier show starts the show, goes the first half, and then they switch to another venue to do the other half, because obviously they've gotten the production to the point where it's like 6 to 8 hours worth of WrestleMania. Why not build it that way? Then you're pulling revenue off of 2 venues, and you're separating the product a little more. I don't think they separate the product enough. And I think it causes confusion with pushing storylines and getting things ready, like the 2-week gap in between pay-per-views. I think that if they were to back up and focus on separate entities more than trying to bring everything together, I think it would be better off. And honestly, I could really care less if they, they meet 4 times together a year for a pay-per-view. For like they do, like SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. The rest of the time, there should be no focus in between brands. I don't think that Raw should advertise SmackDown and vice versa. I think those companies should run 2 different entity things and do more separation. And I think the matches that they do make cross-brand should be more special. And they shouldn't just be, oh, well, it's SummerSlam, so our world champion's going to face the guy he's fought 3 times. No, I think you should do, if you guys meet 4 times a year as 2 entities becoming one, why showcase one brand in a match, then the next brand in a match? No, do like they used to, man. Have it as like a SmackDown versus Raw type of pay-per-view where they lay out the match card and then the GMs come out and lay out the matches, They need to be focused more on pushing the products to the fans that are watching the product and forget the fact that they watch them both. It would help. You got to build a draw. If wrestling hasn't learned anything from soap operas, they should have learned that, yeah, this dude can die 17 times, but as long as every time he dies suspenseful and comes back as a shock, he's always welcome in the arm of the fans and the viewers. If you do it right, if you make it suspenseful, if you make it to where people want to find out what happened last, then I think it would be better. Yeah, that's something else I think that they should do. They should totally go back to the original style Survivor Series. And I'm not talking where it's just 8-man matches, like 4 on one side, 4 on the other. They need to do it again, back to how they did the original Survivor Series, where it was 4 men on each team. And if you got eliminated, you were done for the night. If you were in the surviving team, and let's say 2 out of the 4 guys were to win the match, they would be entered into a match at the end of the night, which was like a you pin like an elimination style tornado match. You had to be pinned in the ring, and it was the last man that won was the sole survivor. He got an award, and it was this big thing. Like, I think they should go back to that. Since all these other companies are doing like the G1 tournament and the fucking, you've got that big 5-star tournament going on over there. Like, why not, and they're doing the women's tournament, and like King of the Ring needs to come back. That's another thing. King of the Ring needs to come back. If you're doing all these other tournaments, you need to run one on the brands. And yeah, group them together for that, sure. But bring back a King of the Ring. What happened to that? No, instead we get Punjabi prison matches. I'd rather pay to see a real Survivor Series match. I'd rather pay to see stuff like that, opposed to someone getting locked in a shark cage above the ring. Like, or Sasha Banks fighting Charlotte Flair for the 1000th time. Those are the things, But that's what politics has turned wrestling into, guys. It really has. It's been kind of sad. It's really been kind of sad. What is in store next in wrestling and politics? God only knows. God only knows. But let's just hope, for the sake of us fans, that it's eventually at some point it goes back to what it used to be. Yeah, King of the Ring was one of my favorite pay-per-views too. It was one of the more interesting ones. Anybody could be crowned King of the Ring. It's like the Royal Rumble. Anybody can get a shot at WrestleMania that way. It makes it open-ended. You can build to something. You can give 8 guys the same goal and make it unique every time. You know, that's what's lacking in wrestling. And until that changes, your ratings aren't going to improve. Until they actually realize, like, we need to get back to doing what the fans want us to do, you're not going to get ratings. If you do everything you want to do all the time, you're going to have a boring production that nobody's going to really get behind. And that's what you see now in the current state of major production wrestling. That's just the way it's worked. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. So, you know, like I said, until that changes, I don't see a lot happening. But, you know, I think I did a good job covering the politics of wrestling topic. It's gotten better. I hope it gets better. Yeah, Karen gave birth to Austin 316. You're damn right. You know, but we have great balls of fire, but no King of the Ring. Roadblock, end of the line. No King of the Ring. I'm waiting for them to bring back In Your House before they bring back King of the Ring, because I'm sure they'll do something fucking stupid like that. Although I don't think they'll do another In Your House, because I think Todd Pettengill owns that or something. I don't know. I'm not real sure. So, once again, guys, I thank you for listening to the radio broadcast, the podcast tonight. I appreciate everybody's support. You know, there's a lot coming up on the Psych Gaming. A lot of more gamings. I'm going to do a complete wrestling podcast. I'm just coming up with the name of that. And then, you know, we're going to keep launching Reality Bytes. I've got a whole slew of topics we're going to get into in the following weeks. Guys, come back again next week for another edition of Reality Bytes podcast, and we'll cover some new topics. We'll try to get some people in to have a few discussions, and we'll go from there. We're gonna keep having as much fun as we possibly can over here on this radio broadcast. I'm gonna keep it real, give you my opinions, and keep doing what I do, because I believe that that's the way it should be. I hope to God that someday, honestly, the cast members of these companies do come out and do bring to light a little more the way that they're treated, because quite frankly, I don't think that it's just, and I don't think it's right. But as long as companies like that are allowed to sway their rules and show a picture perfect world to the people that matter, it's never going to change. And in a society like this, I fear for the worst, because we've got the millennials eventually going to lead the pack of the dominant in the prime. And when that happens, I think that we're all fucked if something doesn't change. We need to wake the hell up and realize that it's time. It's time for us as a society in a whole to start focusing on things that are a little bit more important and a hell of a lot less trivial. I'm a victim of it as well as everybody else. Can't lie there. But at least I'm aware, which is the first step and far greater than most people. If I can create a positive step every day in my life, I'm doing something better for myself. If I haven't learned anything in 6 months of all the hell I've been through, I've learned one thing, okay? And this is like my Jerry Springer final thought of the night. If I haven't learned anything in the last 6 months to a year, guys, let me tell you what I have learned. What I've learned is that life don't wait. You may sit in your circle or your life and be unaffected by that thought. But as you get older and you realize the way that life and things have turned and how society has evolved into what it is, it's not a very nice world out there. And until people want to make that change, it's only going to get worse. And with the society's change and the like I said, the groups that are coming up after us, it ain't looking good. People need to be more aware of more important things in their lives and stop worrying so much about trivial shit. Because one day you're going to wake up and your life's going to be about over. I don't want to be one of those people that comes to the realization when it's far too late. I never wanted to be one of those people. But to experience the things and see the things in the way that I have, I've learned that one lesson for sure, is that life won't wait for you. It'll blow right past you and you'll watch it go by. Grab on. Live life. Do things that you normally would never do. Take a chance. Make a risk. You never know. It might actually eventually pay off for you. I've made risks many times in my life and fallen flat on my face. But I've had a lot of fun doing it. And I've had a lot of fun when I have succeeded. Because it hasn't all been face plants. But every time I make a face plant, just like on a skateboard, I learn. That hurt. I don't want to do that again. What can I do to keep myself from face planting? And I get up, and I get back on that skateboard, and I start kicking all over again. Because I don't want to be the one laying in the grass looking at the sky as the world and the life passes me by. I've been a lot of cool places in the world and I've experienced a lot of great things. And I want to be that guy, when my time's up in this world, that everybody looks at and says, you know what? That motherfucker lived a fucking awesome life. I lived in the same city my whole life and I watched this guy go anywhere he wanted and do whatever the fuck he wanted to. I do the things I do because life don't wait for you. Your happiness is controlled by you. The minute that you start letting other things in the environment and other people in the world affect your train of thought, your self-esteem, and your heart, and your soul, is when you need to take a good look in the mirror and make some fucking changes with your life. Because if not, who's going to make you happy in this world? Nobody. That's the answer. The answer is no one. You may have a wife, you may have children, you may have all these other things, but everybody in this world's focused on themselves more than anything else. So who in the end, when it's all said and done, is going to look out for you? Nobody but yourself. And if you don't do it, who's gonna? Like I said, you got to have a leg to stand on. You can choose a crutch or you can choose to walk. Hey, I don't judge people. I just know how I want to live. I just know what I want. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep bringing that out. I'm going to keep bringing my opinions and doing what I want. I've learned that in life. If you don't learn from your mistakes, what are you learning? I'll quote a great man as I end this radio broadcast tonight. I'll quote a great, great, great man in my life. The minute you stop living, you start dying. And I don't ever want to fucking die, so I ain't ever going to stop living. With that being said, Reality Bytes podcast tonight. I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for tuning in. I thank you guys. If you like this content of this podcast, go ahead and hit the like button on the channel and subscribe. Go over to Facebook to the Reality Bytes podcast, Reality Bytes radio page, or upon the Psych Gaming for updates and all that info coming on for the future. And, I thank you guys very much. You guys have a wonderful night. Take care. Be safe out there. And last but not least, you know, I love you, Pops. And take care, guys.
This is pure.